So we're going to talk about solving file organization challenges, and I'm excited, frankly, to be introducing TPM's Quick Vault that I've been working on uh, since I came to TPM. I'm Mike DeConing, Technical Solutions Consultant. Here at TPM, I'm focused on data management. Um, and I've been here for almost 2 years now. Before that, I was a PDM administrator in a large company, and have been working with SOLIDWORKS PDM for well, let me just say that we started with PDM 2007. So let's see, I guess that's about 14 years that I've been working with PDM and had experience administering different vaults and so forth. And again, I'm excited to be able to present this Quick Vault to you today. So you're probably familiar with the GoToWebinar interface, but just in case you're not, you can enter questions in the panel there. I don't have anyone on the webinar to answer questions while you are entering them live. So what we'll do is at the end of the webinar, we'll go ahead and answer those questions that do come up. But go ahead and type those in so that you don't forget them if you want to bring them up at the end of the webinar. So our agenda for today, I want to talk about the challenges that we see customers encounter when they don't have any document management system. And we'll explain what we mean by that. And then we're going to talk about SOLIDWORKS PDM document management. So PDM is kind of an industry acronym, product data management, but essentially it's managing your CAD files and frankly other engineering documents that go along with your designs, as opposed to just the CAD files or drawings. Again, we're going to introduce TPM's Quick Vault and talk about the advantages of using that. And we're going to do a walkthrough of the Quick Vault. So you're going to see features that we've taken advantage of in the SOLIDWORKS PDM program to allow you to take advantage of different features and functions within the PDM software. We'll briefly touch on, there are kind of two levels of SOLIDWORKS PDM. There's SOLIDWORKS PDM Standard and there's SOLIDWORKS PDM Professional. And there's some enhancements, additional features that you get when you use SOLIDWORKS PDM Professional as opposed to PDM Standard. So we'll just discuss those and walk through that a little bit. And then we'll finish up with a Q&A session. Like I said, just enter any questions that you've had or you have that we can answer at the end of the session here. So if I can find my polls here. All right. So what I wanted to do was kind of start off with a poll, actually two polls, and kind of judge, where the audience is. So this first poll is going to be how you manage your SOLIDWORKS files today. So we'll give it a few more seconds. Looks like most everyone is about done. I think that's about it. So let's go ahead and close that. And now you can see the results. And it looks like all of you are using either the Windows Explorer or a network file share, or maybe a combination of the two. So this is going to be perfect introduction and information for you as well. So, and I've got one other poll. So I'm kind of wondering why you haven't implemented a document management system like PDM. And, oh, I launched it. So We'll let you take a few seconds to vote on that. And we're getting close to being able to wrap that up. Give it a couple more seconds here. All right, I think everybody has answered. Close that and let me share it. So we have 27% say it takes too long to implement it, 60% say it's too expensive, and 13% resistance to change. So again, I think you're going to get a lot of benefit out of this webinar today. So thank you for your participation, and hopefully I am back to my screen here. Let me see. Okay, on with the presentation. So if you're using Windows Explorer today, look like all of you are, you've got some significant disadvantages. There's minimal security. If you're using a network share, hopefully IT has secured that somewhat so that only people who need to have access to files on the share have access to that. You've got uncontrolled files, and so if you use SOLIDWORKS, this is a message box that you dread seeing, which indicates that the assembly can't find the reference file. So at this point, what you've got to do is you've got to go in and to SOLIDWORKS and browse for a file, see if you can find it. In some cases, maybe you can't even find that file anymore. So file corruption across the network. So if you're working across a network from a network share, we understand from SOLIDWORKS technical support that this is probably the main reason for file corruption that can occur with SOLIDWORKS. So if there's a network glitch while you're editing a file, then it's possible that a file can get corrupted, and at that point, then you know, we would do our best to try to get your information or your data back, but it's possible that you're going to have to recreate that. No revision control. So you see in this example here, we're using pack and go in order to create a new, I guess you'd call it a revision of the file. It's hard to see here, but we're adding a suffix of rev b to this assembly to try to differentiate it from the original revision. And then a manual approval process. So in a lot of cases, you may have, let's say, a Word document, some type of a form that you fill out, but it's very disconnected from your engineering process that you normally go through. So what are the advantages of SOLIDWORKS PDM? How does this alleviate some of those issues? So is it ease of use? So a lot of your users right now are either using Windows Explorer or SOLIDWORKS, and SOLIDWORKS PDM actually integrates with those two applications. It sits on top of the Windows File Explorer, and there's also an integration into SOLIDWORKS itself in the task pane. So a pretty easy path to learn how to use SOLIDWORKS PDM, and so that makes it simple for your users to get started. Security. So in PDM, you have to log into the system. You cannot just access files without having a login to the system. And then even once you've logged in, there's we set up permissions so that, and it's kind of by role. So whether it's a group of say view only users or editors or approvers, that is configured as well. So you make sure that engineers are the ones who are doing the editing. You don't want people who are only supposed to be able to view the files, that they can edit those as well. Data integrity. So there are no edit conflicts because of the fact that in order to edit a file in PDM, you have to check it out. And when you check out a file, what that does is it more or less locks it to that user. That user is the only one that can make changes to that file, even if someone else has permissions to do that. Once they check the file back in, then another user with permissions can check it out and make modifications to it. So you don't have a situation where two people are trying to edit the same file and you end up with a edit conflict. And you're editing files locally. So if you're using a network share right now, uh, again, there's a possible reason for file corruption. Whenever you check that file out in the PDM system, it brings a local copy to the user's machine. So they're actually using the disk from their machine, and so it's faster. It avoids a corruption that can possibly occur over a network share. So big advantage there. It eliminates redundant data entry. So the system is configured. If you put information into a SOLIDWORKS model, then that's automatically going to be copied to the SOLIDWORKS drawing. And there's also the capability to automatically fill in data for a file. Let's say, for example, whoever created the file when they initially made a new file in SOLIDWORKS. And it promotes standardization and design reuse. So if you use SOLIDWORKS Toolbox, you can put that in the PDM Vault and manage it in there. If you have standard templates that you want everyone to use in the company, you can put them in the PDM system and have the SOLIDWORKS file location options point to the files in the PDM system instead of everyone having their own set of templates, let's say, that they're working from. So what is TPM's PDM Standard Quick Vault? This is our own pre-configured custom template. What we've done is we've looked at SOLIDWORKS PDM Standard and gone ahead and created a template that takes advantage of all those features. So it's based on industry knowledge and best practices. All of our technical solution consultants here at TPM have worked in industry before. Various companies, different types of products, different size companies. And what we've done is we've used that knowledge to put together a template that would get you started quickly and again, based on best practices. And like I said, we take advantage of all the PDM standard functionality. So custom searching, SOLIDWORKS has a revision table that you can have on your drawing. If you use that, then we can set it up where PDM will read the information from that revision table, and that will show up in the system. There's automatic PDF generation for SOLIDWORKS drawings. So when you release a file, you can go ahead and have a PDF file generated that will be stored in the PDM system. And like I said before, we have toolbox integration. So in order to kind of show you how the TPM Quick Vault works, we've got a company that we've made up, Taylor Tools, and they have a miter saw design that they've been working on, and we have 3 of the team members at the company here. Alexandra, who is in charge of approving the designs or obviously rejecting them if they need work. Dan's the designer, and so he's typically working inside of SOLIDWORKS. I should have mentioned that Alexandra does not even use SOLIDWORKS. And Megan, who's out on the shop floor, looks at documents for fabrication and assembly. So we'll start off with Dan, and the reason why I want to start off with Dan is because he sees all of the files due to his permissions. So you see he has to log into the vault. Typically we would not have a blank password. This was just easier to do. So we're going to go in this miter saw project, and you see that there's a state column, and that shows you the status of the file. So we've got a new file, we've got a file that's pending approval, and then we have some released files. And just like any Windows Explorer interface, you can sort by columns and so forth. But beyond that, now we have all this information in the bottom here, including a preview, which integrates with the SOLIDWORKS eDrawings functionality. So each seat of PDM has SOLIDWORKS Professional, and what this would allow Dan to do is to actually go in and interrogate the model. He wanted to see what the diameter of that knob was, because that makes a difference for him as far as the design he's going to work on. So complete integration, and then we have the data card. And like we were saying, this information either comes from the files themselves, and if you edit the file here and change the description, it will be stored in the file. For assemblies now, we also have bills of materials. So without even opening SOLIDWORKS, you can see the files that are components that make up this assembly. You can see previews of the files themselves. There's a contains tab which shows you all of those. It's similar information. It shows you what files are referenced by the assembly, and the where used, which tells you exactly where these files are being used. So that pedestal support pedestal is actually being used on 3 different miter assemblies, and you can preview the drawings here as well. Again, all this functionality is occurring without even using SOLIDWORKS. You didn't even have to open SOLIDWORKS, even though that's the tool that Dan normally uses for design. And I wanted for you to take a note of the folder that we're in. We're in the Quick Vault and in the assembly folder, because now what I wanted to do is switch over to Megan. So like I said, Megan's on the shop floor, so she should see files that are released, and perhaps she should see files that maybe are undergoing a change, but we don't want her to see the files that the changes that are going on in the files until they're actually released. Megan used a quick search there. She didn't even care about what the file name was. She just knew that she was looking for a spindle. And I wanted to show here that, again, you will not see a file with the state of new, because she does not have permission to see new files. Now, this file is in work in process, and you can tell that there are later versions of the file that she's not able to see yet, but she still has access to this file so that she can interrogate it using the eDrawings. Even though she's a view user, she still has access to the eDrawings interface. And so she can see information like the width of this flat here and so forth. So again, Megan does not have SOLIDWORKS installed on her computer, and she doesn't need it in order to get her job done. So we'll log her out, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to Alexandra. And Alexandra, again, is an approver, and because of that, there's a custom search that Alexandra can take advantage of, and the awaiting review search. So Alexandra wants to see what files she might need to approve. She could look in subfolders in the system, but she's going to go ahead and work from the whole system, and then she could filter on the file name, but she just wants to see every file that is awaiting approval. So there's a pending approval file right there. So Alexandra is going to go ahead and again, she's got the capability to preview this file, and you'll note that the material has changed. That is a change that Dan made on this file. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to let her, after she's examined the file, what she's going to do is she's going to approve the file for release from the search window right here. Now, she could actually return it for an update if she wasn't satisfied with what Dan had done, but she's going to go ahead and approve it. And once she does, and she has to, it shows her the information. The comment is optional. She can fill that out if she wants to. In this case, she's just going to go ahead and put a note that she approved it and click OK. And once she does that, now you will see that the state has changed to released. And because of the fact that she's still in the search window and didn't refresh it, you didn't see the revision update, but it did update, as you can tell in the data card right here. And in fact, if she goes ahead and browses to the file in the folder instead of looking at the search window, you'll see right there that the file has gone to revision B. So this eliminates that issue if you don't have any revision management right now if you're working with Windows Explorer. So we're going to log Alexandra out, and we're going to return to Megan because I wanted you to see how this affects Megan's view in the vault. Like I said, she is able to see files that are released. The quick search remembered her last search term, so quick for her to get back to that file, and now you see that it's released, it's revision B, so she's seeing all that information, and she's seeing the material change without even having to have SOLIDWORKS to open the file. And because of the permissions, we control what Megan can see or not see. So we're going to switch back to Dan. Dan has a project that he's been assigned that he needs to change the fence on the miter saw to change it for a metric scale instead of an inch scale. So in order to do this, now the miter fence itself does not need to be changed, but the parallel guides do. So Dan is going to go ahead and use a copy tree function. And what this allows him to do is copy files to modify for new components, but use existing ones in the new assembly. So again, he does not need a new miter fence component. Now, in order to differentiate the files, they've decided to use a suffix of M for metric. And so once Dan does this and looks over, he's going to see that now the files are going to automatically be named with the M suffix. And Dan's going to go ahead and check these files in as well to make sure that the files get copied to the server itself once he's done this. So now Dan can go ahead and begin his work. And he's going to use his favorite tool. He's going to browse to the file. He could have opened it right there, honestly. Oh, I guess we wanted to see that these are his new files. The yoke saw pivot was already the new file that was in there that Megan couldn't see to begin with. But you see that we've got 3 files with an M suffix, and these are the files that Dan's going to work on. So again, he's going to open these in his favorite tool, SOLIDWORKS. And it's going to give him options of how to open it, but he's gone ahead and taken the standard open functionality in SOLIDWORKS itself. And now he's given the option of whether he wants to check out any of the other files. He obviously wants to check out the parts with the scales on them, that he's going to make the new ones. So now what he's going to do is work in SOLIDWORKS. There you see the 2 files that need to be changed. So he's going to go ahead and open it. And these were imported, so we're not going to use feature recognition in this case, although he could. So this is the scale that Dan is going to change. And for the sake of brevity, we're not actually going to change it, but we're just going to let Dan save the file. And you see the integration into the SOLIDWORKS PDM system. So in the task pane, and you can see by that icon that the file has been changed. So now he's going to go and change the other part there with the scale. He's going to go ahead and pin that open because we want to do something a little bit different here. So he's going to open the file and essentially just save it again because we're not going to change it, although obviously you would want to change that when you created your new file. So once he saves the file and closes it, now you see the integration. You see both of the parts have been updated, and now he's going to save the assembly. So that will give him, and the fence holder is read only, so the system's not going to let him check that in, but of course it doesn't need to check it in because he didn't modify it. So now we have all of our files up to date, and he's going to check these files in. The one part is read only, so don't need to check that in. And he's going to put a comment that this is the metric design and check that in. And now he wants to go ahead, since he's done with this design, he wants to go ahead and submit it for review. Archive is for non-SOLIDWORKS files, so he's going to use the submit for review and make sure the files are checked, which they are automatically. And now he's going to send that file on for review by Alexandra. And again, now all the files have been saved, so there's no need to save that again. And you'll notice now, if we go look at the fence assembly, that this modification or this new file, the metric file, was set up so that, I mean, the information that Dan was the one that was had created it was already saved into the data card itself. So no need for Dan to go in and type his name and put his information in here. That's automatically saved by the system itself. We're going to switch back to Alexandra for one other thing that I want to show, and that is the bill of materials. So Alexandra wanted to examine the bill of materials and perhaps even send it as an Excel file to, let's say, purchasing or production planning or whatever the case may be. So you can actually save the file out as a comma separated value file. In this case, we're opening it, but then she could optionally save this and then send it on. I'm not going to save it in this case, to other people in the system or in your company so that they could access that information. So we've talked about PDM and the TPM Quick Vault, but I wanted to go ahead and mention this is built on PDM Standard, which is I'd say the introductory level to SOLIDWORKS PDM. So some of the limitations are it's a single workflow. So you can only have one workflow, and it's limited to 10 states. So that your status would be limited. You can only have 10 of those. It's a single site application. So if you have multiple plants where you've got need access, you would have to, you couldn't use PDM Standard for that. It does include the SOLIDWORKS integration. It's limited to 2 revision schemes. Typically that's enough for most companies, but if you have ISO documents and you have CAD files and you have other documents that have different revision schemes, you know, you might not be able to get by with PDM Standard. It runs with SQL Server Express, which is a full database, but it has some limitations. Typically for PDM Standard implementation, this is not going to be an issue. And it's included with SOLIDWORKS Professional and Premium. So if you own seats of SOLIDWORKS Professional or SOLIDWORKS Premium, you own seats of SOLIDWORKS PDM Standard. So that gets back to the cost question before. That all you would have to pay for would be the implementation of SOLIDWORKS. And one of the reasons behind the TPM Quick Vault is to reduce the amount of time that it takes to implement the system. It's pre-configured, so it takes less time and enables you to get up working faster and at a reduced cost. Now, if you need additional functionality other than what we just covered in PDM Standard, there is SOLIDWORKS PDM Professional. Now, that is additional cost associated with the licenses for PDM Professional. However, you get unlimited licenses, you get multi-site, you get integration with Microsoft Office programs as well as other CAD programs. You can have multiple revision schemes. So if you need the ISO 1.1. Whatever it might be, you can do that. It includes some automation above the PDF generation for SOLIDWORKS drawings. So if you need DXF output of flat patterns, if you need to generate step files in order to send those out to, for 3D printing, that's all available in PDM Professional. It integrates with the SOLIDWORKS desktop solutions like Composer, Electrical, and Simulation. And it also has a capability of having a web browser interface. We've shown it with the File Explorer integration as well as SOLIDWORKS integration. But with the PDM Professional, you can actually have a browser-based system. So someone can actually launch a browser and point to a web server that's been configured for SOLIDWORKS PDM and access it that way instead of even having to install the PDM client, which then integrates with the File Explorer. So in conclusion, I just want to say that the Windows Explorer is not document management. PDM provides true document management. So you've got release control in the way of revisions. You have searching capabilities in order to find documents and be able to reuse those documents. You don't have the issues with file corruption that you can get over a network. And then our PDM Quick Vault configuration, it takes advantages of all the SOLIDWORKS PDM standard functionality that's available, and it gives you improved ROI because of a reduced implementation time, as well as allowing you to get started quickly so that you can manage your documents efficiently. So with that, I think I'm wrapped up. We've gone a little bit over the 30 minutes that I had allotted. I forgot. Here's an easy upgrade path to PDM Professional. So if you do use PDM Standard and later on you decide that you want to go to PDM Professional, it's a matter of just buying the licenses and then implementing the additional functionality that you want out of the PDM Professional system. So thank you for your time and your attendance. I appreciate it very much, and I've got some time for some questions. So what I'm going to do is see if we've got any questions here. Let me pop this out. So I'm having a hard time seeing these. Just a second. Okay. We have a question. Is there any internal capability for peer reviews of drawings and markups? And yes, there is. I didn't show that, but there is a capability, even for someone who just has the e-drawings. So like in our case, we had Megan who did not have SOLIDWORKS, but she could actually mark up the drawings using the eDrawings Professional that comes with SOLIDWORKS PDM, and then save that markup, and then Dan could open that markup in SOLIDWORKS and see the information that had been marked up in there. So yes, there is a capability of doing that. Do you have to purchase a SOLIDWORKS license in order to have access to TPM Quick Vault? Again, the Quick Vault is built on top of the SOLIDWORKS PDM Standard. So you don't have to buy a license if you have SOLIDWORKS Professional or Premium CAD. It includes a seat of SOLIDWORKS PDM Standard. Now, if you wanted other people to have access, say as a viewer or a contributor, and a contributor is essentially someone who can add files and modify them in the PDM system, but they don't have that integrated in the task pane in SOLIDWORKS. So they don't have that integration into PDM. Those licenses are separate purchase. But for the SOLIDWORKS CAD Premium and Professional, you do have a seat of SOLIDWORKS PDM Standard. So the Quick Vault would actually come as part of that. I'll hold off for just a second. If there are any other questions, I'll be glad to answer them. I will mention while we've got a couple seconds here, um, if you have an interest in this, please contact your sales rep here at TPM. If you, for some reason, don't have a sales rep here at TPM, just contact us and we will find someone to talk to you about what it takes to implement the SOLIDWORKS PDM and in particular the Quick Vault. And you know, we'll be happy to discuss any of your needs as far as PDM or frankly any of the SOLIDWORKS desktop products, as well as the 3D Experience Works, which is the cloud-based solution that is coming from SOLIDWORKS as well. So we have no other questions. I'm going to stop the webinar, and again, thank you so much for your time. I hope you found this beneficial, and have a great day. Okay, thanks.